Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Talks with the Lady. I am your host yet again, Lashana Lady Brown, and it is a pleasure to be here again this evening. Oh, sorry. So it is a pleasure to be here again. Um, I want to first of all thank everyone for tuning in and playing or partaking in Talks with the Lady. Your support, your likes, your loves, your comments, your shares, they have all played a major role in the success of this talk show and this podcast. Okay, I do also want to give special thanks to the ones that have came on, the guests, the interviewees that have come on. Amen. Amen. Tonight we have two wonderful, significant women. Amen. Hallelujah. They are going to come on and they are going to share with us our topic tonight. We are going to give some input. We ask that you like, share, and comment as well to this live. I do pay attention to it, and I thank you so much for your support. Again, without further ado, I am going to go ahead and add on our guest for this evening. We have Mrs. Mrs. Renee. She is one of them. And then we have Steph. She's an MFT, so like a mental health tech. And we're going to go ahead and get started with them tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get you on. Let's go ahead and bring on Mrs. Regina Renee, and Mrs. Steph Jones. All right. Hello, ladies. Hello.
Hey, blessings. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Great.
I'm telling y'all, it's been
Doing
a
amazing.
very, very long day. It has been a very long day, but I have been looking forward to this. I am so excited. As I spoke to you all, and I let you know, this is a baby for me. Mental health is so close to my heart. Not only is it just close to me, it's something that I have experienced as well. And we're going to just talk about it this evening. So without further ado, I'm going to have you, both of you ladies, I'm going to start with you, Miss Regina, by introducing yourself to our audience and letting them know who you are and what it is that you do.
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for having me on your show tonight. I am humbled and honored because just like you, mental health issues is really important to me. So I actually also have a diagnosis. I have been dealing with depression since childhood, and trigger warning. The first time I tried to attempt aliving myself was at the age of 12. And so throughout my life, I thought something was wrong with me, right? You're not depressed, you're lazy, you're dramatic, right? And so I tried to use my accomplishments and my achievements to hide my depression. So straight A student, debate team, math club, stuff like that. Was just something just was not, still not feeling right. Until I went to college. I went to Emerson College here in Boston, and I started seeing a counselor at the counseling center. And that's when I finally learned about what mental health was. And I had a diagnosis of, like, I had no idea. And so there was comfort in knowing that there was a diagnosis, because then I just felt like there's not anything wrong with me, but now I can name it. Because before I could name it. So anyway, long story short, I realized that here, I don't know where you guys live, but here in Massachusetts, there weren't really a lot of peer support groups for Black women, because I have a clinician. I love my therapist, but I was looking for, peer support. And so I'm looking, couldn't find one. So I said, I'm just going to create one. And so that's why I founded my organization, Mindful and Melanated, and where we specifically provide mental wellness support in a peer-to-peer model for Black women.
Right.
So that is my story and how I got involved in the mental health industry.
Yes. So for the audience who's out here, the organization that, as Miss Regina was explaining to us, is Mindfully Melanated. This group is a peer support group that she has adopted. I'm very interested in it. Those of you that are interested in any type of peer support, make sure that you reach out to her. Her name is Regina Renee. If I will actually post a link to my page if you have any questions or concerns, or if you would like to reach out to her as well, we'd be more than happy to assist you with that. All right. Thank you so much, Miss Regina. And now we have Mrs. Steph Jones, the MFT. So, Ms. Steph, would you please go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience? Let them know who you are, where you're from, and what it is that you do in the industry, and how mental health you have been affected, or your experience with mental health.
Absolutely. Firstly, I am so grateful to be here. The energy's feeling good. Happy to always have these conversations, like in and outside of Mental Health Awareness Month. This is great. But like, these conversations are beautiful, and I know that you guys have them outside of the month of May. So it's wonderful to be in this space. So so I'm a mindfulness life coach and a marriage and family therapist, right? I only became those things because of all the chaos I went through as a child. My parents got divorced when I was 11, going on 12. I've also had suicidal ideations and attempts, depression, anxiety, but all undiagnosed because I'm in the church and we don't talk about those things. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's kind of where everything started. I went through I know what it is now, even though I did not have a clinical diagnosis. I knew that I was deeply depressed.
Right.
I knew that I was deeply anxious. I knew that, and now knowing what I know, I'm like, I can call it. But I really started focusing on psychology, the brain, the mind, wanting to learn why people do certain things, how to kind of clock people, how to read people, you know, patterns, thought patterns, emotions, body language.
Uh-huh.
And then in the pandemic, I got into mindfulness heavily, so when I see mindfully melanated and we're both in Massachusetts, I'm like, what? Like,
Yes.
I think it's so wonderful because our community needs this help the most.
Right.
I believe we are the most traumatized anywhere, just what's been done, the atrocities that have been done to us, and we're the ones shying and running away from it. So I have made it my life's mission to assist, especially those in churches. Whether I'm in the church or not, I'm always telling them that they need the most help because
right.
the
We
Black
tend
church,
to take a lot more. We tend to
take a lot more, and I will say that the origins of the Black church in America are some of the most traumatized origins. Birth out of
right.
slavery. Like, what are we talking about? If we go all the way back, we realize that our history, our root is trauma, and so I want to help people be the best versions of themselves. So that's a general synopsis, kind of all over the place, but that's how I got into it. And then currently, my brother has some mental health diagnosis. I love him dearly, and so that has even pushed me further into the community and making sure that the message gets out there, that there's no shame or guilt with
Right.
a mental health diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I stopped saying mental illness. I just, I started saying
Mental
mental
health.
issues or mental unwellness, because I think sometimes we call things on ourselves. I don't say I have a diagnosis or I have a sickness. It's not mine. It doesn't belong to me. It's just something I'm passing through. So that's how I move through, my life. But I'm currently a school counselor in a high school serving troubled teens in grades 9 through 12, which is a whole different ball game. So I see it in every different aspect. But again, very happy to be here and very happy to jump into this conversation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Now, and you were saying that you were a counselor at the high school. Do you see a lot of these cases in high school?
So many. And here's the reality. I'm in a public school. The public school does not have enough resources to handle all of the mental issues going on in the school. I'm just putting it out there very plainly. I am one counselor, and I have about 150 students on my caseload.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see all 150 students. That's an impossibility. I would say I see about 80 to 90 of them, and they have to share me. I'm just one person. They have to share me. My office is always full. And these are ELL students coming from Brazil, coming from China, coming from the Congo, coming from all these different places. So they have all these layers of things going on. I want to be honest. It's a clarion call. We need to be paying attention to our youth. We need to be focusing on their mental health. That is the key, because they are struggling and they're not equipped with the coping skills. We're in a different generation. They're not equipped with the coping skills. Same issues, not equipped with the coping skills. So this is a clarion call to all parents, aunties, mamas, big mama, them, everybody. Focus on the youth and focus on their mental health, because it's not looking good. In all seriousness.
Right.
Okay, bro.
Yes, it does start from the youth aspect. From when I was growing up, I know that my mental issues began at 16. I had so many different things surrounded by my inability to cope with others, and especially my peers. I was a little bit different. I wasn't the one that was very, I'm not going to say very well known, but just popular. I was a little bit more into my books, and just I guess trying to make sure that my dad was content with who I am, being that he had so many other failures. So it was very stressful on me. It's like, okay, why does it begin with me? After 6 other siblings, So it was a lot of pressure there. And then just not having my mom around. She had suffered with some drug addiction. So my dad raised us very, I mean, he could have been mom, dad, aunt, so he was everything, you know. So from going to school and then just hearing others, well, that's why your mom this or what, you know, that just put a lot of pressure on me as well. And that was my first attempt, was at 16. I was turning 17, but it was 16. And I'll never forget that. I have learned to grow from the things that people may say or what they may think about me. I used to be ashamed because I had a mental health condition, but I surpassed it. I feel like with prayer and having the relationship with God to be able to overcome those things that I can't change, I do feel like I'm able to get through life a little bit better. People say medication. They say, well, they got all these different things, the medical marijuana, they got all these different solutions to these issues. But I mean, I have my way of coping through it. You know, a lot of, I see a counselor, you know, I talk with her. We just had a meeting yesterday and I was telling her, oh, I'm so excited. I'm having my podcast tomorrow. And we're talking about mental health, and we just laugh and cope, but she's there to listen to me. So it's like with you being a counselor, those youth, they need somebody to talk to. And a lot of times it's not even their peers, because just like even with us as adults, we are very peculiar about who we go and talk to, because a lot of people want you to talk to them so they can go back and talk about you. So looking up to someone that has that passion for others that have mental health issues, that is a reward all in itself. So I have some questions that I have laid out for us. And one of the questions we pretty much already covered. I just kind of felt like this live was going to be one of those ones where I didn't really have to get so much into detail with a lot of these questions, because it just seems like we're all on the same level. And who knows more about mental health than a person that actually goes through it, right? So, I mean, I kind of figured that I would kind of maneuver off a little bit. And again, this is very dear to my heart. But I am going to go through some of the questions and we're going to ask, and we're just going to talk about it, interact with each other as well as the audience. If you all in the audience have any questions or concerns, make sure that you reach out to one of these young ladies, even myself, if you have any questions or concerns. We are going to go ahead and get started with this interview again. All right. So either one, both of you ladies are magnificent. I'm just... So, whichever one of you choose to answer this question first, I think all of us are going to eventually answer the questions. We're going to get through them, but we can all just kind of piggyback on each other if that's okay with you all. Okay. All right. So what is your approach when building rapport with people? Because I know with me, I'm very cautious on how I deal with people in general now, because I feel like people are so judgmental, and I know my what I can take or what I can handle versus what I can't. And sometimes I automatically assume that, okay, this person they have like a hidden agenda. I mean, what is your approach with building rapport with people?
Yeah. Do you mind if I go first, sis?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, with me, I'm not a clinician, but I do offer support as a peer, as you mentioned before. And so when Black women approach me, I just want to meet them where they're at. And I first listen, and I don't give advice. I don't should. You should do this. You should leave him. You need a new job. I'm there to listen. Lend a listening ear. I may be able to tell you my experience about what I've done in a similar situation to show that you're not alone, but I would never tell someone what they should or should not do when dealing with their mental health. So that's what I do. I share my experience and definitely listen to them.
I can see that. I can definitely, with me, if I were coming to you instead of you, ridiculing me on what is or what's not or what I should or what, it is great to know that I have someone that's listening to me and can, because it's a little bit more like passive language. You're just kind of agreeing and so on and so, so on and so forth. But if someone approaches you, and let's say, for example, I don't know, what is that first thing that pops into your head when, okay, like with me, you first met me. What was the first thing that popped into your head? Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's just me or others think like me. Like, what was going on in your thought process? Because maybe I'm a little bit more extreme with it.
I think because I'm an open book, I'm open to others. That might be a little naive. But I take people for face value for what they are until they show me otherwise.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and just like you said, like, it's nice to know that somebody can listen to you without, hammering down their advice to you. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people, they may be well-intentioned, but a lot of times their advice comes from some sort of bitterness. They're trauma dumping onto you. So that's why I never, because we may be in a similar situation, but it's not the same situation. We're not dealing with the same people, and we're different people. So, yeah.
Okay. And what about you? What do you think, Steph?
Like, I agree with the mindfulness. Okay, because you have to be so cautious. So here's the thing, ladies. Like, I wear a couple different hats, right? Therapist, yes, mindfulness life coach, but I'm also a minister of the gospel, right? In two of those spaces, I can say you should. As a life coach, you're usually helping people navigate, right? As a therapist, though, I always make sure I take my step back, and that spreads across all the places that I am. I'm of the belief that everything you need inside of you is already right there.
Right.
I'm just there to help you kind of stir it up, kind of get some of those thoughts flowing and moving and things like that.
Right.
When I first meet someone, I also take a very listening stance. Like, I'm just here to hear you. You know what I'm listening for? Ways that I can connect with you. You like to say music is me? Food. I connect with people over food, over traveling. Am I picking up? So it's active listening. Am I picking up something? Have you sparked something in my head that says, oh, I can connect with you on this, and I can start talking to you about this, and I can make you feel so comfortable that when I have to hit you with the hard truth, you don't reject it. You say, oh, this person cares about me, because we reject things from people who we know don't care about us, even if it's good, y'all. Are we talking honest?
Yes.
I'm with you, because that's what I look for. I look for, like, if we don't have anything in common, it's just like, it's a misconception to me. Like, it's like, okay, I already know how I am, and I'm a cheery type person, but it's like, with me, once you betray or give me a red flag, it's like, boom, I'm out of there. And I hate to say that, and I really hate to be that way, because a lot of times, again, people, you meet them in different seasons of their life. You can have one red flag, and then you don't have another red. I mean, it's just so many, but I have to work on myself with that. And that's what, again, I was telling my counselor that, like, she was like, what are your goals? What do you want to work on? Okay, I want to work on this. And she was like, oh, we got 3 more than we did last week.
You just added on to the list. You just added on and on and on the list.
Yes. So I don't know. I agree with Regina as well. I agree that I do see people for who they are, but it does not take me long to figure out. And I don't know if it's that spirit of discernment that I have, but I'm really, really cautious when I'm dealing with people, because the biggest thing is I'm afraid of hurt. I'm afraid that I will not even just hurt, but that I will fail them in some type of way, or maybe they'll fail me. That's just one of those things that I just have to overcome. And it's a goal. That's something I'm working on. I'm looking at different ways that I can manage my stress and how I look at people or how I perceive them. That's just one of those things. But I don't know. I agree with you both. It's just like seeing people for who they are, We have a question.
sorry, but also, and we have multiple questions, which is also good, but
Yes.
also making sure that we are aware that we bring our own selves to every situation. So we bring our trauma, we bring what we went through, we bring our own personality, our attitude, all of that. We bring everything into that situation.
Yes.
And I think sometimes we can project on people our own, you know what I mean, our own
Right.
feelings. And so we have to be so cautious. Like, this is my first time meeting you both. I'm not projecting any of myself onto you guys. I'm just letting you be who you are.
Right.
I'm like, okay, these are awesome women. I can already tell. Yes, it's a spirit of discernment. And that's the other thing too. I depend so heavily on it because I need it. Like, because I bring my own trauma.
Right.
I could be, oh, they're not good. Oh, they're not good. Oh, they're too pretty, or they're too, that's my normal thought process. I need discernment. I need the Holy Spirit to say, oh, this is a good person, this is not, or put something in my spirit. I need my spirit to talk to me and say, hey, hold on, wait a minute, take a pause.
Right.
Like, so I think just measuring all that and being aware. Every time I meet someone, I'm like, I'm bringing the whole of me into it.
Right.
Do I have to filter through what is good, what is real, what is me, what is them? Like, it's a lot to filter through. So we need time.
Right. Well, Candace Woods asks, how is one able to determine if someone has a mental condition versus trauma? I feel that they may be two different things. And again, now both of you with your experience, we all know that a lot of mental conditions come from trauma. Right? What's y'all take on it? What do you think, Regina?
I was gonna say I'm gonna let the licensed clinician.
Yes, I'm tell you this discussion right here. Oh goodness,
it's good. It's good.
It's good.
It's very good. It's very good. I want to take a backtrack really quick because you know, you were mentioning that I don't want my laptop to die. That your father, I think you were trying to live up to your father's perfectionism, or like your father, you know what I mean? You take that into every relationship that you start. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean about being aware and mindful. And I'm a therapist, but I'm not your therapist, but I'm just, you know what I mean? It's just a pattern. Like, okay, if my dad demanded this perfectionism of me, or in my head I thought that, I'm going to bring that everywhere. And I think that goes for everybody who's asking these questions. So back to Candace's question. Love you so much, Candace. So sorry, can you put the question back on the screen, please?
Yes, ma'am.
If you can find it, because there's plenty on it. Okay. So and my other sister Dominique is in the comments. She's also a therapist. So here we go. You can also jump in. All right. So Candace, trauma is a mental condition, but not every mental condition is trauma, if that makes sense. Trauma is a mental condition. They're one and the same, but every mental condition is not caused by trauma. It's just not the reality, you know? So you can determine it by how someone acts, or how they form a relationship, or how they behave in a relationship, right? If we're talking about bipolarism, or if we're talking about PTSD, right? We're talking about two mental conditions. One is more trauma-based, one is more chemically imbalanced based. So that's the distinction that needs to be made. You know, that's how I make the distinction.
Right.
If it's trauma, or if it's a mental condition, but trauma is a mental condition, but every mental condition is not trauma. So I hope that makes sense, Candace.
Yes. Perfect. All right. And then we have Dominique Jones. She asks, when do you break the barrier and give the advice and recommendations that challenge the negative thoughts, behaviors, or just things they need to start to change?
That's a good. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I just took a breath. I was just taking a breath.
Yes.
So for me, I think I have a little more flexibility in this area because I'm not a licensed clinician. But I still don't like to give advice. I like to guide people to, because like Sis said, you everything you have is already inside of you, right? And so I can challenge a negative thought, but I won't invalidate that person's feelings at the same time. So I always want to be mindful that I'm not invalidating somebody's experience if I challenge them. So like I'll say something like, so if somebody came up to me and said, you know, I'm such a failure, like I'm not making six figures yet, I'm such a failure. I would say, well, who determined that making the six figures is is a success?
Right.
Like, how do you determine success?
Mm.
So I would ask them questions like, and I would say, let's check the facts. Okay, you graduated from college. You have a good job. Like, I would say things like that. Like, I would tell them things to prove that they are a success. So that's how I would challenge their thoughts. I think I missed the first part of the question about breaking.
When do you break the barrier and give the advice and recommendations that challenge the negative thoughts, behaviors, or just things that they need to start to change? I guess it's more of when you begin to see the negative. It's like you say, the negative. When I began to see the negative out of it, then I start to like, hey, let's look at it this way.
Yeah.
Because even though I have the experience and I have been, I get my counseling and so on and so, but I learn a lot. So I'm able to, mentor my children. Like, okay, well, I learned this, so on and so forth. So I guess that's where you kind of break it, and get based on what I've experienced. That's how I end up breaking barriers, because I know where I was before and I know where I'm going. So I'm able to, impart in my children knowledge, or even someone else, like, oh, I've been there before. And that's why I say, regarding any and all aspects, I feel like I am the testimony. I feel like I was chosen for it. I feel like I was chosen to go through as much as I went through. I think that I was chosen to fight a lot of battles. I think I was chosen to experience a lot of heartbreak. I think I was chosen for all of these tasks. But look at me now, like I'm okay. I've pretty much went through it. Many people could not walk in these shoes. And when I say that, and I don't say that lightly, I'm talking about, I say that as a badge of honor. It's a lot of people that cannot or could not walk a day. Even when I wanted to give up on myself,
come on,
God wouldn't let me do it. I couldn't even do it. It was just the thought of me doing it. But I had to realize where I've came from and how much I've accomplished. And it's like, okay, well, I can't give up now. I can't stop now. I've got to keep pushing.
Yeah.
So a lot of that, like I say, I use myself as a testimony, because I know everything that I've went through: depression, stress, bipolarism, what they say, borderline personality. I done went through all of this stuff. Like, they got all these different diagnoses, but at the same time, it's like, I'm absolutely okay. It's just, it's little triggers for me, but I've even learned to maneuver through a lot of those. I just don't allow things to, if I don't have anything positive, or if I can't, a lot of stuff run through my mind, but it's like, I want to react this way, or I want to say this, or I want to do that. But it's this light bulb that goes off and says, remember how far you've came. Remember how you've transitioned from that. Okay. And then I have to stop and think, because a lot of times before I respond, I have to stop and think how I want to respond, or what because I don't want people using that, that the notion that, oh, because you have a mental illness, that this is how you're going to always react, or this is how I can control my emotions. I was telling my counselor yesterday, she was like, well, how do you feel? I say, well, it's not me that you have to worry about. You know what I'm saying? They have to worry about how I've overcome it, and they might question, what is the next move? Because this doesn't seem like her. Because I have, not only have I transitioned from that, but I sought God for it. And I actually forced myself, and I look back from how far I've came to where I am now and where I am going, So I break that. I have to force myself to do it. And sometimes I get a heartache by doing it. I'm like,
it's painful. It's painful. It's very painful. And I mean, I think it takes a lot of stamina, and I think it takes a lot of determination and push to break the barrier on your own. But then if we're talking about being a peer support, or someone dealing with mindfulness, or someone being a therapist or a life coach, we have to go back to rapport. Like, you have to have the rapport with them, but you have to have rapport with yourself. You have to talk nice to yourself. You have to love yourself. That when I tell myself something, like to challenge a negative thought, that I'm not going to automatically reject it. I mean, what I've learned in this work is that when you are close to someone, when someone knows that you love them, when someone knows that you're not out to get them, or you're not out to be petty or catty or anything like that, or you're not saying little subs or being passive aggressive, that they know that you're genuine, that they're going to hear from you. And so when there's a negative thought that you see, immediately, no matter where you are, you can identify a negative thought immediately. It doesn't mean you have to address it immediately.
Right.
When you build the rapport, when you are able to laugh and kiki and chuckle, you just come in with like a right hook and you just knock someone right out, because they don't expect. I like for people not to expect it.
Right.
That you just feel the uppercut of change and you're like, oh, I didn't even recognize it. I didn't even notice it, because you feel so comfortable with someone.
Right.
But if I'm in a session with you, I'm like, yes, we're just together, and this is someone who cares about me. And then I say, so what about, and you're like, oh, wait a minute. But you don't reject it, because you feel the love. Love has to come before it.
Right.
And concern and care has to come before it. So that when I'm telling you and I'm challenging a negative thought, or you're challenging a negative thought of mine, or you're inviting me to change, because you have to invite people to change.
Right.
And then they have to accept the invitation. It's like a party. If I can invite you to change and then you accept it, most people reject it, because it's coming from someone who doesn't care about them.
Right.
Or someone who's beat them down.
Right.
But if I love you both and I'm like, you know what? You said you wanted to do this. Lady, you said you had a goal. How do we do this? How does you said, oh, I can hear from you. It all depends on who the source is giving you it. And if you've built that rapport, you just sneak it in. You know the right moment. It's like double dutch. You know the right moment. I'm gonna sneak this in. Come on. I'm gonna sneak this in.
Listen, yesterday I went deep. I went deep with her yesterday, and all I could see, I was like, she was like, you know what? I look forward to our sessions, because it shows me the growth and the contentment, like where you are. You can take a bad situation and make it into something positive.
Yeah.
And that alone just lets me know, without her, I can do this, I'm okay. So, and I'm healing. I see a lot of growth. How I used to react to different situations, it's like I don't act no more. But you know what? Then people take advantage of you. That's another thing that I noticed, and I was telling her that yesterday. I was like, you know what? I think sometimes people, because you have changed and it ain't got nothing to do with medication or anything, I mean, it keeps me calm. But at the same time, it's like sometimes when people see a difference, like a change, the humbleism inside of you, I think that's more of a reason for them to kind of, let me go ahead and sneak this in. Let me get in that bed, and that is another thing that bothers me too, because I really want to act out in different ways. But again, that light bulb goes off like ding. Just remember, you don't have to react, to everything. A no response is an actual response. You don't have to do that. Again, that's just one of those things I learned. But Michael Lewis asks, how does one determine if it's a good spirit of discernment or overthinking?
That's a really good question. And I really would like my therapist to answer this, because let me tell you, there have been situations that I've had personally where I don't know if the situation, like if dating, for example, I don't know if this dude is a red flag or if this is my trauma talking to me. And sometimes I can't tell a difference. Like, is he really full of, or is that just my trauma from my past? So, sis, can you answer that question, please?
Right.
It's such a good question, and I don't think enough of us ask it, right? Like, it's a good question. So I believe that we have to be so in tune with the Holy Spirit that we know when he's talking and when it's us. And that sounds so simple, but it's difficult because often our thoughts like overshadow it or overtake it. So you made a great point with the red flag. Is it a red flag, or is it me overthinking, or is it my discernment? We have to take a moment to process everything. Like, I named my business Selah, right? Selah mindset. After the pause that they talk about in the book of Psalms, right? That you hear a musical interlude and you Selah, you sit and you think about what you just heard. We have to experience that in life. If I'm introduced to someone, like, okay, you're dating someone and you see something that would make you think it's a red flag, it's something that disturbed your spirit. So we don't want to ignore it. We want to stop and pause on it and evaluate what it is. Is this from my trauma? Is this from something that I've dealt with? Or is this something, that I need to really be careful and watch out for? Like, hold on, what are we talking about? It's all about pausing and assessment. And in reality, when we take a moment to pause, we know what's what. We know how to separate. But sometimes we move so quick and so fast. We want things to go quick. We want, we see someone handsome, we see someone looks good, and we just want it, and we want to grab it, and we just ignore, and we blow past the red flags. Red flags are a red light. That means to stop.
Right.
Can I just say, Steph just read me?
Listen, I'm not trying to, but I feel it. I feel the pull. I'm like, oh, let me chill.
Listen, this is some great discussion because after this live, honey, we definitely have to connect.
Yeah.
And we have Selah mindset. Let me just go ahead and throw that in there. So not only do we have mindfully melanated, we have Selah mindset. So we have a lot of resources up here for you. Okay. And if you could also as well, Steph, go ahead and type in. I see that you are linked on YouTube.
Yep.
If you would please type in the comment. I'm not sure how you can do that, so I can go ahead and post your credentials as well, and your contact information.
Sure.
I also had Miss Regina's on here. Absolutely. And I'm actually going to post them to my page after we get off of the live. But this discussion is really good, so we're going to go ahead and keep on going on. May Elise says, do it from a non-clinical standpoint. Do it as a friend, a family member. Guide them to rethink without digging too deep. The moment you feel that you're responding as a clinician, pull back.
Good. Yeah.
I agree to that. And
she's
then
also a therapist. She's also a therapist.
Okay. Well, you're next, May. You're next. You're gonna be on here. Talks with.
Come on, get her on. She's Dominique too. Both amazing women. Yeah. Both amazing women of God. Amazing therapists. Get them on.
Yeah. Make sure y'all reach out to me if you can send me a private message, May and Dominique, as well. Candace, you making a lot of great points.
Candace is good too. Candace is good too.
She says, I believe a lot of mental health is underdiagnosed is because society tends to group this population as different, and discrimination can occur where labels become bigger than getting to know who the person really is. That's so true.
There's a lot of bias in the mental health, behavioral health industry. And sometimes I feel like sometimes for me personally, it has caused more harm than help. I mean, I remember there was one time I was seeing a psychiatrist, and no tea, no shade, a white man. And I said to him, I said, I'm getting really irritable, and I don't understand. Like, I'm just so irritable, and just everything is getting pissing me off, and I just get and he said to me, well, maybe that's just your disposition. Maybe it's just your personality. And so I took offense to that because I'm like, but I'm usually a bubbly, nice person. And I'm like, I'm not someone who snaps at people just on a normal basis. Fast forward a few years later, I find out that that's a symptom in depression that's mostly found in Black women versus white women. So it's like, you just bottle me into the angry Black woman. You call me angry Black woman without calling me an angry Black woman, basically.
Yes, I've done that as well. But see, what I think where he was coming from is the way that we perceive things, the way that we view it. I mean, I automatically, again, off top, I just feel like the world is against me. I do. And it's not so much just by my thinking. I think it's more of the actions of people, because it's like, you show me who you are, and that's just what I believe. I'm stuck with it. There's no change in that. It's like my mind is just made up. But then somewhere along the line, later on down the road, maybe 3 or 4 days later, I think about it and be like, well, maybe it wasn't that bad, So again, I don't know. Maybe it's just the way that we perceive things, the way that, but I would have taken that as an insult. But your response is different from what my response would have been without treatment. Does that make sense?
Mm.
So thank God for growth. Michael Lewis asks, what suggestions do you have to support a loved one who is experiencing mental issues?
Firstly, I would say don't try to be their therapist.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to be their counselor. You like, you can have a desire, you know what I mean? Don't try to be their life coach. Don't try to be their peer support, because if you are not qualified, if you don't have what it takes, you will be destroyed. No, Danny, I'm not I'm not her therapist. No. I'm not her therapist.
She might be my new one too.
Listen,
I like my therapist, but there's nothing wrong with having two.
That's right. Come on through.
Hey.
But back to that question. Really try not to take on too much of it, right? Because if we're not equipped with the right tools, if we're not equipped emotionally or mentally to deal with our family members' issues, we can usually say, oh, you know what, I'm just going to listen, I'm just going to hear. We end up traumatized because we're not equipped. Those who have been trained, those who speak to people who have gone through it and know this is what I need to do my self-care to make sure I'm not carrying this. For the average person, if you don't have that, love you so much, Jermaine. If you don't have that, then it's like you are going to traumatize yourself and you both will end up having mental issues. And that's the reality. So really just talk to them and see what's going on, but don't try to play therapist. This is not something you play with. Don't try to play peer support. Don't try to play life coach. Like you don't want to play around with that. Like, this is not something you just kind of jump into like, oh, I'm going to help out, because you hear so much and it takes a toll on your entire body. So really try to get them to professionals, try to encourage them to seek a professional. And usually some people are scared of going to a therapist. It has a bad stigma, right? We're talking about breaking the stigma. So encourage them to go to someone who could be their peer support. That sounds, it's not a therapist, but it's someone who's going to help them. Encourage them to go to a life coach, you know what I mean? Until they work up to getting, if they never go to a therapist, have them go to a professional, someone who's capable of handling all they're going through. But number one, please don't try to play their therapist. Please don't try to play their life coach. Please don't try to offer them the peer support, because you'll end up hurt. It's detrimental to all of us. Get them the help they need. You can hear them. Don't take on the burden, because that's a hard burden to get off. Because then every time they see you, they're going to be unloading until you're going to want to block them. You're not going to want to be around them.
And then now you created a bigger problem, because now
it's going to ruin the relationship. It'll destroy it.
Right.
And I just want to say a couple. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, sweetheart. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say a couple of things. One, if you decide to help this person and you can't for whatever reason, do not feel guilty.
Come on. That's so good.
Just like Steph said, if you're not a professional, do not feel guilty. And also, if you try to be proactive and approach this person about getting some help, if they shut you out, don't get offended, because sometimes people ain't ready.
Right.
Sometimes people aren't ready. Like, I know for me, one of my depression symptoms is isolation. I will keep my phone on DND for 30 days straight. No, if there's any of my friends in there, tell her I'm so serious. And they'll send like a text or a Facebook message just to say, hey, we know what's up. Just let you know we're still here when you're ready. Just give them the space they need if they need it, and don't feel guilty if you cannot help them, because it's not your fight.
Right.
That's so good.
Mark says we need more men speaking up about mental health. This is a great one. Growing up, I was always taught to be tough. Don't cry. I can't teach my son that mess. It's okay to cry and have feelings. Yes, most definitely. I think that with mental health, they think, everyone, even myself, I've grown up with the notion that, I used to hear my father say to my son, I've never heard him say, don't cry, but he would always tell my brother, hold your head up, stand up like a man, look at a man, another man in the eye, in the face, when you're talking to him, stop all of that, complaining. But I mean, crying, I think that was just something, like, I've never seen my dad cry. That's something that I think my brother and I did, because we were the last siblings, because of the situation with our mom, But we never cried in front of our dad. And I don't know if it was just because that's what we expected. Like, okay, we can't do that in front of him because he's trying to train our mind to be stronger. Um, I think that was more what it was, but it wasn't like we got punished for crying. Like he would say, his favorite words, everything gonna be all right. Everything gonna be all right. That's just what, but he was a man of wisdom. My dad, he sat in the room and I could have sworn myself, we never seen it, but I could have swore I've heard him shed some tears sometime, but I never said anything. But I think it's absolutely okay. I think crying, it cleanses the soul. I have to do it sometimes and then I get back up and I have to, if not every day, every other day. And it's not that I'm depressed at the moment. I just go to thinking about things that have happened. Like my dad, that's a sensitive spot to me. Even my mother, she has passed on as well. And that's another sensitive spot. I lost my sister 3 weeks before my dad. That's another sensitive spot. So it's like right now I feel like I'm in this world alone, with the exception of my children. But because my children know my condition and the things that I've went through and how I maneuver through life, they constantly reach out. They constantly give me advice. They constantly show acts of service and genuine concern. Like, oh, mom, I love you so. Oh, let's go do this. Let's go to Starbucks, or just little stuff like that. I think they do that because they know and they don't want me to get in that mode. I've wiped my children's tears and my children have wiped my tears. I've never been ashamed to cry in front of I just try not to make myself seem like I'm sad. So when my children ask me why am I crying, I was like, these are happy tears, So, but it's okay to cry. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So yes, you are right. We're gonna move on. Let's see. May Elise says, just because you can do it, it doesn't mean you have to. Reach who you can, then let someone else do the work for others. That is so correct. Mm-hmm. I'm so happy you worked on this area so you can blossom. It's a true blessing as now you're able to give someone your best. Yes, that is so true. And I'm ready for it. Okay. An emotionally aware man is a good man. And you got that right, honey.
It's so true.
I would love for a man to cry on these shoulders.
Come on. You already put it out there. He's on the way. He's on the way. He's on the way. But I think we do a disservice to men by telling them they can't express their emotions. Like, yes, that's wrong. And that's a right. That's a wrong we have to right. That's wrong. They're human. They're not robots. Right. They're not aliens. Like, you guys can cry, but do it in a safe space, right? Like, you don't want to, but no one, I don't think anyone should be crying in front of everybody. Like, I think you need to express your emotions in a safe way because everyone can't handle humanity. Right. And it's just a reality. But look, we're releasing the men to feel all the feels, have all the emotions, cry. You won't be labeled, you won't be judged. You're able to cry because right, an emotionally aware man is a good man. He's self-aware. And I want to be honest, and then I'm gonna land this plane. Women, sometimes we say we want an emotionally aware man, but we're really not ready for him. Right. We're used to dealing with traumatized men. And when you get an emotionally aware man, you better be ready. We better be very prepared and ready. Oh, Lord, send me an emotionally intelligent man. We get him. And it's like, woo, he's calling us out on everything. And it's accountability. It's reciprocity.
So stop attacking me.
Listen, I'm very big on that. And I become emotional when I'm attacked like that. But the thing is, I'm not verbal when I'm like someone is trying to correct me, especially like if it's a man or something, only because I put myself in a humble position and I ask God for that, like to humble me, so where I can be more submissive to that. So, I have to put myself in. Sometimes I just shut down, like, okay, even if I know or I feel like I'm not wrong, I just to prevent all of the confusion, because I am dating, so I just, when I am hit with stuff like that, I just, interesting. Okay. But again, it's one of those things you just kind of got to grow through it. And
Yeah.
And not all advice is good advice. And I know it's not just me. I know
Right.
that's why I don't like to talk to people and inform people of what I have going on. But you know what? This is me. This is who I am, and I want the world to know. Like, you have to accept who I am and my growth, my development, the things that I've had to encounter and go through. This is just me. So I'm not always going to say that I take everything well, but it's not, I don't verbalize it and I don't act on it. I'm stuck on the notion that if I don't have nothing good to say, I don't say nothing at all. And we leave it like that.
It's all growth. It's all growth.
Right.
Yes. Anyone who can acknowledge that something is bothering them mentally or emotionally is a strong person.
Mhm.
Yes.
I agree.
Mhm.
Yes.
Done.
All right. And then okay, yes, so we hear you, May. May, you next. You next, May. Okay. Love this. I'm now learning that harboring feelings can lead to our cups tipping over, and we have to learn healthy ways to cope with pain.
Woo.
Yes.
Yes. Big time. Big time.
That is so true. Let's see what else we have here. All right. Emotional expression is not a time to emasculate a man. It's healthy. Remember, it's humanity. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I agree with May, because it's like women always talk about they want to protect her, right? We want to feel safe and secure. But if your man is coming to you and showing emotion and vulnerability and shedding some tears, that needs to be protected too. So I totally agree with what May is saying.
Same. If he's crying, we're saying, oh, we want him to be vulnerable with us, and we're his safe space, and you can do that. And then he says something, or he cries, or he sheds a tear, he says something in an emotional way, and we start calling him a little girl, or we start calling, oh, why are you being so feminine? Why are you being a little female? Like, that's like, don't emasculate him. Don't make him feel like he's less than a man for expressing his emotion. He is right. Remember his humanity. Remember that he's human. He's a man, and he's a man expressing his emotions. He's no less of a man because he's expressing his emotions. Just like we're no less of a woman because we're expressing our emotions. So it's just the equality and the balance, I think, is key.
Yes. Now, listen, believe it or not, ladies, that's why I said this is a great discussion tonight. I have not gotten through the second question. But y'all have been great. This has been a great show. But I'm gonna get through my questions now.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna get a few in. I'm gonna get a few in. And again, thank you, all the viewers, the audience. Thank you so much for watching. I mean, I'm just so I'm just so happy to have these young ladies and you all are here to share, this baby for me. This is my baby. This is our baby. And I think we all at some point in time experience mental health. That's just me personally. But I wanted to share these myths about mental health as well. Wait a minute. We have a question here. It says, Michael Lewis asks, do you all have any mental exercises you all can recommend as a part of mental health maintenance to keep an individual mentally balanced who may not necessarily have mental issues because life be coming at us fast sometimes?
That's a really good question. So for me, I do a number of things. One, I journal. And journaling doesn't have to be this whole big production, a big masterpiece. I use guided journals. Sometimes I just use like a plain blank notebook and just kind of like doodle my feelings. So that's one piece. And I am a big lover of aromatherapy.
Woo!
Yes, I love candles. So I don't know if you can see this, but I actually had a candle maker create a custom scent for me called the Mindfulnista, and I got them burning. I always got them things burning. Always. And then of course movement is something like getting outside. Definitely, those are some really good exercises to do. So those are like three main things. I can go on and on, but those are the three main things that I do.
What about you, Steph?
Yeah, I do similar things and would recommend similar things. Like I'm a colorer, so I have coloring books all over the place. And in reality, and I'm saying it out loud because I want people to keep me accountable. I want to release a coloring book because I love it so much. I want to put one out. And okay, well, let's look. I'm all about team collaboration. So let's chat because it's needed, and it needs to be full of affirmations and full of scripture that people don't really know about. But anywho, coloring, big time.
Right.
Reading. I think take anything with self-care that you're taking your mind off of what you're going through, but find what you like to do. Like, I'm a musician, so I love to sing. I love anything but music. That's something that I do to kind of get myself back to my center, to my base. Candles, yes. Incense, yes. Anything that causes that good smell. I have candles burning right now, but they're over there, right? All that, like, yes, because it matters. So, Mike, whatever you feel like you need to do, if it's a candle, if it's an incense, if it's your favorite essential oil, something to remind yourself to breathe, but also do that movement, but tap into your creative side, right? Where you are just, whatever's going on, forget about it and focus on whatever you're doing creatively. If you want to paint, if you want to do woodwork, whatever, use your hands, go out and plant a garden, like all that stuff taps into our creative side, and it helps us to say, I don't have to focus on what I'm going through now. It'll be there when I get back. Right. I'm going to take a moment, right? I'm going to color, I'm going to draw, I'm going to doodle, I'm going to paint, I'm going to listen to music, I'm going to read, I'm going to run, right? I'm going to take a nature walk. I'm going to go and breathe in the air. I think we take breathing for granted. So those are some of the things, because life's all the time. All the time. So we have to really come up with things that are going to keep us on our base and help us to remain there.
Exactly. Right. Well, I ain't gonna be running nowhere because my big butt don't be running nowhere. But I'll take a walk. But there's one more.
You may get a speedy walk from me, but
I run a little bit, but I get halfway around that track, I'll be like, "Ooh, it's time to finish walking." But it is great, a great stress reliever, though.
Yeah, I run my mouth.
We have to know our gifts. Yeah, we have to know our gifts. We have to know, and Chris Henson, who was on here before, he ran a marathon, and so he's a runner, that's his thing though. And make sure you know what's good for you. Because if you try to run and you're not supposed to be running, or if running is not your thing, then you'll be more frustrated. If you try to color and that's not something that's agreeing with you, if you try to journal and it's not agreeing with you, you will have more anxiety and more frustration than when you first began. So make sure you know what's tailored to you. Try out a couple things, right? Figure out a couple things and what works for you, and then stick with that. Don't try to do what we do because that works for us. You could try it out, but find what works for you. It's a formula tailored to you, and that'll be perfect.
I love that you said that, because I know there was one point in my life where I'm like, well, I'm going to meditate every day. And I'm sitting there like, and then I'm thinking about this and I'm thinking about, like, I can't meditate. But like, obviously meditation was not for me.
Yes. I did the meditation. What I did was I sat on my floor. I moved everything. I got one of my candles. I got my Bible. I lit my candles, and I'm just like, I think this is what you're supposed to do. But it gave me a little bit more. I'm just sitting up there like
more anxiety.
Right.
And so I tried it one time. I haven't tried it again. I mean, but it was relaxing though. It's just I'm able to block things out, when I do that. But
sometimes people need guided meditation. Like, I love to meditate, right? I can just go in and focus. Some people need guided meditation. For those who struggle with meditation, would love to help and assist. Sometimes you just need to be guided. Sometimes you need to just know how to kind of work through there. Right. Sometimes we say, I'm not going to think about a certain thing. It's our thought.
Right. You're right. I agree. I just want to say I love the conversation. Let me see here. I just want to say I love the conversations with Talks with the Lady, but this one is by far the best. Aww. Thank you for being such. Thank you. I try to be. I like to cover all topics and making sure that I'm not leaving anything out. And I'm not sure, for those of you that are out there, I do try to make sure that I'm covering topics that we are all, or issues that we're all facing in today's societies, things that people don't like to talk about. Mental health, it's not just because it's Mental Health Month. It's like Black History. We're giving 1 month a year. Mental health is all year, so this is, I just decided to go ahead and bring it to the forefront because of the, it being Mental Health Awareness Month. but this is something that we all need to talk about. This is something that we all experience. It might not be something that you're diagnosed with, but sometimes the load is heavy. Sometimes you are stressful. Sometimes, you don't know if you can make it from day to day. That is a sign of depression. So mental health applies to all of us, not just those of us that are diagnosed. And again, there's no shame. I used to be ashamed because of my diagnosis, because I was just like, oh, I'm crazy. No, it ain't got nothing to do with that. It's got, like we say, a lot of trauma. As Regina was talking about earlier, the stimuli, how we respond to stimuli, and especially it could be environmental factors, the chemical imbalance. It could be due to so many different things. And a lot of us just have regular everyday life that we're just living, and we wonder how we're going to make it from day to day. And then we have the issue of living paycheck to paycheck, or wondering if, okay, our children are okay. These are things you worry about. So it does take you in a mode of depression, and that itself is a mental health condition. So I have so many things that I want to share on this, but I do have another mental health panel next week that is coming up, and I would definitely like to carry on because I do have 3 other shows to finish out this month, and we're definitely going to be addressing that. So yes, I am more than honored to be able to present this to you tonight alongside Regina and Steph as well. It's an honor, and then I get to meet new people. Oh, by the way, Mindfully Melanated has a conference that is going on. It is next month. What date is it?
It's actually in October. It's October 12th, and it's in person, and it's going to be in the greater Boston area. And the conference is called Strong Black Women Redefined. And it's an all-day conference where we bring politicians, providers, and persons with lived experience to talk about how do we dismantle the cultural trope of the strong Black woman and deal with our mental health issues in a healthy, positive way. So if you guys are going to be in the Boston area in October, please come out. I'll put the link in the comments.
Yes, I will also post the link to the conference as well, just in case any of you are go. I know there's a lot of travelers that I know, and I know a lot of people that are retired that don't have anything to do. Okay. And to go out. So I definitely will post that as well after the live. I just wanted to really there's so much Talks with Lex says meditation is a shift of focus that quiets the mind. Zone in on a sound such as white noise, the sound of rain, the AC, etc. I do water sometimes. Yeah. If I go to a beach or something, that calm. Dana Marie says the shame also starts with home. We've been conditioned what happens at home stays at home, and something is wrong if you struggle with mental issues. I do believe that to be it does start from home, just like it starts from our youth, as
so
Steph was explaining earlier. Dana Marie, thank you for thinking of me. Yes, most definitely. Thank you for joining us, Kay. And then we have our Mindfully Melanated. Again, this is the website as well, where you can go on there, and she will, I think this is the website for the conference. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing that one. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's the same one as well. So without further ado, you all listen. I did want to also, okay, just a few of these myths that I had ran across when I was doing some research. Even I researched my own mental condition. So it says that mental health issues can't affect me. Mental health issues can affect everyone. Okay, children don't experience mental health issues. That's a myth. Yes, it does. People with mental health conditions are violent. That is a myth. Not all people are all individuals that experience mental health conditions are violent. Okay. Another myth is people with mental health needs, even those who are managing their mental health conditions, cannot tolerate the stress of holding down a job. That is, well, let me tell you now, that is a myth. but I have my own little tolerance level, and I've learned to just kind of grow past a lot of stuff. But I have had that issue one point in time, because when I get stressed out, or if I feel like it's too much pressure, or I feel like, okay, the weight is on me, or people know what they do and they just trying to like provoke me to do, like I have been at a point where I just said, okay, I just can't deal with this, and I walked away. But again, I've had to grow past a lot of that in order to be where I am today, where I'm like, okay, breathe, just don't, because this time of days, I ain't letting nothing affect me and my money. I ain't letting
You
nothing.
can't. But can I say that that's everybody?
Right.
That's not just people who have diagnosed
Right.
mental issues. And here's the thing: I would rather deal with someone who has a diagnosed mental issue, because at least you know what's going on with you.
Mm-hmm.
The dangerous thing is someone who we know has a mental issue. We can see how they're operating. Come on now, how they're showing up at work, at church, in their home, with their family, husband, wife, kids, friends, social circle. We know that there's something going on, and they refuse to get diagnosed. That is a danger to society, right? Those are the people who snap at work. They don't know how to monitor anything. They don't know what levels of medicine or what they need to be doing. They don't have a therapist to speak to. So it's not that, we can't deal with work. That's everybody in the entire universe. It is just those who have if you have the courage to go find out what's going on with you. It takes courage to go see there's something going on. I need to go get checked out. I need to talk to someone. I need extra help. That is a courageous movement. That's not something to be ashamed of. And like Danny was saying, though, shame has filled it so much, because you're like, oh, you're crazy. You need all of us are. Let me be clear. Everybody is going through something. Absolutely, Michael. Yes, for sure. For sure. Without a doubt. Yes. Untreated anything can cause mental health issues. Untreated, ... you fill in the blank. If it's untreated, it means we don't know the level that it's happening. We don't know how deep it is. So we have to see and treat it and find out what's going on. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's just a perspective shift. Those who have mental health issues and big diagnosed, they're actually safer because they know what's going on with them.
Right. Robin Bradshaw says, mostly our Black men are raised by single parents, women. So they are not taught how men are supposed to act when it comes to emotion. Do you believe that? Because it's true. I raised my boys. I don't know. I've always created happy memories, because I'm a person, I've always wanted to break the curse, the generational curse of, I've always been like, it started with me, with not saying that, okay, I've experienced this and that, and so the only thing I've experienced really as a child in my parents' household was just not having my mom there. That was really the only thing. But again, my dad made sure that intentionally that we were okay. Like it was never a problem.
Raised by your dad.
I broke the curse by, I'm not gonna say I couldn't say that I broke the curse by having a 2-parent household. Like that's something that I couldn't control, you know what I'm saying? So, but I did break the curse of my children feeling like I didn't want them to be abandoned. I didn't want, and that's what I experienced with my mom. But my dad made me free to open experiences, free to, it was like a push. You are going to do this. You are going to do that. You are going, okay, now I'm taking, oh yes, you're getting out of here. You're going to the military. You are going to do, like it was just a push. And I didn't have that. Like my mom was just different, and again, that's my mother. That's who gave birth to me. And I always respect her, but it was just a little bit different. With my mom, I felt like I had to be tough. With my dad, I was a little bit more lenient. I guess it just all depends.
I think it depends on the mental stability of the parent.
Right.
Your dad seemed like he was in a good mental space, but most single parent households, and this is no generalization, it's just a reality that we've seen, the woman can be bitter towards the dad. And so the children are raised in bitterness at times. That's not everybody. But a lot of times we see that children are raised in bitterness because their moms have an issue with their dad. I've seen that case more often than not.
Right.
And so when you have women who aren't mentally stable raising children, there's instability all over. Your dad seemed like he was stable. You know what I mean? Seemed like he was stable enough to raise you all well. But it just depends on the parent, you know.
Yeah.
And if women who are raising children are not well themselves, then it's almost impossible to raise well children if you're not well yourself.
Right.
Yeah. Breaking the generational curses of being a safe space to discuss issues and emotions is so important. It really is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but what was the next question? We had another question.
Hold
on. Let me get into okay.
Let's move on to the ones on the list.
Okay, so okay. Mental health issues are a result of personality weakness or character flaws, and people can snap out of it if they try hard enough. That's another myth.
Oh boy. And people really think like this. This is what's sad. People really think like this.
In 2024, they still think
in the good year of 2024.
Yeah, I know, right? This is what they're saying. Okay, another myth.
Scary.
There is no hope for people with mental issues. Once a friend or family member develops a mental health condition, they will never recover. That is
now, lady, you're a living testimony. And all of us, I'm just saying, all of us are a living testimony that is not accurate.
Yes.
Okay.
But that is a myth. That's what they're saying. They're saying that there's no absolute way that you can overcome this.
How terrible.
I'm just okay. There's more that they have here. There is more. Okay. They say therapy and self-help are a waste of time. Why bother when you can just take a pill? What do you mean?
What a pill?
I'm telling
you making this up. People really saying this.
No, I'm serious. Listen, I want to share. Let me, you know what? I'm going to bring this presentation up here. I'm telling you, this is what they're saying. These are the myths that they have. I went and I researched this. Every one of my podcast shows, I make sure that I do my research.
Right.
And I could not believe these were just the ones that I picked out that I thought were hilarious. I'm like, really? Right. So another myth, I can't do anything for a person with a mental health issue. And I'm like you can't bring them any water. I mean, I got real petty with it, you know? So and the last one that I just picked out, and again, there was so many of them, but another myth was it is impossible to prevent a mental health condition.
Nope.
Those were the ones that came up.
And it's like we're laughing at it because it's so ridiculous. Like,
people
really?
Think like this.
I've never heard of that. Like now, let me ask you, ladies, this. What do you think about triggers? Do you I have triggers. There's things that trigger me. Again, I do try to control, but I know, like I can identify my triggers now. You know,
I think that's key.
Yes, I have learned to identify them. So I feel like when a person begins to antagonize me, or when they're begin to speak the worst of me. Now I can take constructive criticism, but some criticism is just, so what I've learned to do again is just, oh, that's interesting. You know, because I'm learning that no feedback or no response now is a response. Okay, that's what you think. That's perfectly fine by me. I'm not responsible for your thoughts. I'm not responsible for your feelings. You know, I'm just learning. It's so many different, like, I have a great therapist. She gives me so many different strategies, techniques. Oh, try this. Or instead of thinking that way, did you think of it from this way or from? So a lot of times when I'm talking to people, I'm just, and it's not that I'm not actively listening. It's just that I'm trying to find a way other than my initial response or a way that I would have reacted. I'm trying to come in a positive approach, you know, because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if I say this, this could happen. But if I take this direction, and then again, that's just a part of my thought, the way that I think about it, you know. So, Michael Lewis, being able to recover from your thoughts is a forever developing skill. It sure is.
Yeah,
I agree, because it's like you can have all the coping skills in the world, but sometimes it could be that one trigger, that one thought, that one
Set you off.
interaction, all that set you off, and all that learning you done did and
Gone out the window.
Yes, and I sit back sometimes and I'm like, nah, I didn't have to go that far. And it goes from, well, they shouldn't have said this or did that, to, okay, did it have to get that far? And then it goes to, I need to apologize for that. You know, like it's a step. It's like a whole process. But I think I'm right now at, you know, I don't have to respond that way, or I shouldn't respond that way, jumping to apologize. Because I find myself now apologizing more than I feel like I need to. And really it's not for the other person, it's for me. Does that make sense? It's, I don't like, at the end of the day, people, I feel like, and I say people because these are the most interactions I interact with individuals, and this seems to be a trigger for me, which is why sometimes I shut myself down. But I say that because I feel like most people, and not, this ain't got nothing to do with people that are older, younger, who have may be suffering from mental health. I don't care who it is. I just feel like a lot of time people know their intentions. You know, if you know your intentions, but why provoke me if they're bad intentions? If you have great intentions, you automatically, like we just said, when we met each other, we talked, you know, we're vibing, we're good. I get, this is a safe space for me, you know. But anything that is like out to destroy or try to people that try to antagonize me, and some, like, that's not a good energy for me, and I immediately shut down now. So
That's a reality. I think we all struggle with our triggers, right? And I think when we have good boundaries, when we put our boundaries in place, that helps us to, you know, kind of navigate those triggers. And what Danny is asking, I think it's always good to know when to speak about your triggers, and know right when you first meet someone, you know, like, this will set me off, that will set me off, because people really aren't responsible for our triggers. We are, you know, we're responsible for how we respond to them, and that's just a reality. You both don't know. No, I'm saying you both don't know me. You don't know what my triggers are,
right?
So it's up to me to say, okay, that might be triggering me. Maybe I can mention it, and it's how I mention it, it's how I say it. Or maybe I could just say, oh, you know what? I don't need to respond to that. Right. You know, we can have a trigger and not let it trigger us.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
It's a choice.
And it's just, as far as like when to be vocal about it, like, I think it's like comfort level. And what you're open to share with folks. Like for me, because I'm a mental health advocate, like I don't mind telling my business to anybody, because this is like what I do for, you know, not for a living, but this is what I do as my passion project or whatever. And then like, even like in my friend circle, you know, sometimes people, they like to go out for drinks and this and that, or they have dinner parties or whatever. I had a group of friends, it was 4 of us, and we would always plan monthly dinners. We would rotate, whoever goes to whoever's house, we just whatever. And, you know, they like to bring wine and stuff like that. So I told them, I said, listen, I'm a recovering alcoholic. This is an alcohol-free house. So I mean, if y'all want to have this at my house, you cannot bring any alcohol. And that's a trigger for me. And, you know, it took a lot out of me to even say that, because a lot of people don't know about, as much as I talk about my depression, I really talk about my past issues with alcohol. Anyway, long story short, they had no problem with it. And actually, one of them actually brought me sparkling apple cider. I just thought it was a cute thing. So it's like, it's the comfort level, I feel like. And like Steph was saying, you got to know if that space is safe. You know, you got to kind of use your discernment in that realm.
When is it okay to be vocal about said triggers? Exaggerated example, overcharging about triggers on a first date.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. You know, but I think we're kind of answering that, like knowing when it's a safe space, knowing that, okay, do I need to mention this about this trigger, and how triggered am I? There's levels to this. How triggered am I? Okay, if I'm a little triggered, I'm like, okay, I can kind of, maybe I'll try to plan a conversation later on for us to do it. I don't want to act in a passive aggressive way either, though, like, because we have to be mindful of that when we're triggered. Like, we'll do some, we just have to be careful and aware of everything. So it's just knowing, okay, am I in a safe space? Do I need to mention this trigger right now? Like, again, how triggered am I? Am I level 10 triggered, or am I level 2 triggered? We're going to have triggers no matter what. People chewing too loud is a trigger for me. Can I tell everyone to stop chewing? No. I have to say, this is a trigger that I can't deal with right now. Either I move myself from the space, or I'm like, I can sit here and be in it. And sometimes we run too quick from our triggers. Sometimes, I'm triggered. Deal with it, sit with it, so we can move past it. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's like a great method you have to have. And it's like baking a cake. You have to know the right ingredients. What makes me tick? What's going to make me blow up? Do I need to speak about this trigger right now? Or can I just let this slide?
Yes, you can have triggers being touched by a man when I was young in the wrong place with no hands. Now that I'm older, that is a turnoff for me. So no sex. Yes, I do believe, again, we talked about the youth, things that happen in the youth. It's just like, and just you not wanting to have that desire, that's a mental thing. You know what I'm saying? And so many people have dealt with that. So many people. Even with therapy, I still feel that way, but I had to forgive him at first. You have to forgive him in order to move forward. You don't have to, I try, they say forgive and not forget, but I try to forget too. It's hard to forget. It's just that it's like, you're not going to forget it, but you use other things to replace, that, whatever it is, that trauma that you've experienced in your life. It's always better to tell someone, because it took one time for an image to tell me that I was looking like his girlfriend, who he did not like, and I was removed from that building. An inmate. Okay.
Okay.
An inmate.
There we go.
It's always better to tell someone, because it took one time for an inmate to tell me that I looked like his girlfriend, who did not like, and I was removed from the building. Yes, I'm telling you, those triggers, boy, it just be certain things. But you know what, ladies, gentlemen, my audience, this was such a great podcast topic tonight. I really enjoyed each and every last one of you all. I look forward to having this discussion again. We have another one next week. That is session number 2. Okay, we do have 2 males. No, a male and a female that is coming on. We're actually supposed to have 3 tonight, but she rescheduled for next week, so we're gonna have those 2 next week. All right. So I thank you so much, Regina. I thank you so much, Steph. It's been an honor. These are my new friends. Okay.
Yes. Hello.
We are definitely going to be doing some networking.
Yes.
We're going to be reaching out. You will hear about it. I'm just looking forward to it. I just absolutely, when I started this podcast, I don't know if this is again one of those things to help me with my mental. Steph and Regina. God presented this to me. I got on live one day. I would go live normally in the past, like some years ago, and just be going on and on and on. Just be when I was outside of getting help for myself, I should say. But I got on here this time, and God just said, talk about it. So that's why that is my quota, is let's talk about it, because I used to hold in a lot of things. So now I use this platform to share the experiences that I've had to go through or I've encountered, to be able to set myself free and allow me to just. So that is why I am in I've had a lot of insults. People say, oh, this is just local and this is something she just doing. No, God brought this to me. Oh, God, when I tell you, and I was telling them, I'm like, people, God had already showed me, like, this platform will be global. And I posted that today on my social media, because It's like it doesn't matter what anyone else says, but when God showed me something different, and this is exactly what he meant by global. You're going to touch so many different people, and so many people are going to be touching you. It's like you're going to gain so many new um friends, family, people you even consider family, because
Mm,
I use the word friend very lightly. I say family, you know, because I run into people and it's just like I constantly, instantly, I just connect with them on so many
Mhm.
different levels. And I appreciate you all, because when you reached out to me and you replied into the group, I was like, oh God, you know, these are strange. I don't know, but I always do the meet and greets, and I'm just honored that I was able to actually meet you all, and I'm looking forward to, you know, moving forward with you as well.
for
You both
sure.
are great ladies that have a lot
Absolutely.
to offer, not anyone just locally, but I'm talking about globally. It's just the mindset that you have, and I have to be very appreciative that God placed you all in my path. At this moment, I'd like to also dedicate this live to my nephew Maurice Brown, who committed suicide this
Mm,
past September 2023. Um, Again, it is very dear to my heart, and it's just one of those things where I just kind of wish that that door was open for him to talk to me or somebody.
mm,
Um, but rest in peace to my nephew, Maurice
shit.
Antoine Brown.
I'll share.
But I thank you all for coming on here and connecting with me as well. If again, if any of you have any questions or concerns, or if you want to reach out and talk to anybody, we have Miss Regina Renee that's here with Mindfully Melanated, and we have Mrs. Steph Jones here. Yours is, let me go back here. I got it here in my thing.
You good.
Okay, Steph Jones. She is Selah Mindset, because I have it
Yeah.
in my notes here. Selah Mindset. Okay, I will post their social media information. I will also post the website to their pages. I will post their names and their social media pages as well. If you want to reach out to them, again, as you have seen tonight, they are wonderful women, willing to listen, and someone you can talk to. You don't have to worry about it going back to anyone else. If you
Right.
are ever feeling into any suicidal thoughts, you
Mm,
know, make sure that you reach out and talk to someone,
yeah.
share your feelings, and allow yourself to be heard. Okay.
Mhm.
I love you all with the love of God, and I truly do appreciate every one of you taking the time out to join me here on Talks with the Lady. We look forward to having more experiences like this with you as well. Do you ladies have anything that you would like to say?
I just want to say I'm super duper proud of you for starting this platform.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, F whoever said it's too small, because listen, look what you're doing,
Mhm.
and you're gonna save lives, sis. You're gonna save
Thank
lives.
you.
I,
Thank
I,
you. Thank you.
I echo those sentiments, and mental health is wealth. So we want
Yeah.
to be wealthy in being mentally well. And so absolutely commending you as well for
Mhm.
your courageous journey, right? Where you're being transparent, you're being open, but you're helping other people. And this was a healing time for everybody here. And so this was great. Thank you for that. May God continue to bless you and elevate you and put you in the right spaces and put your name in the wind and network you with everybody, and have strangers talking about you, because this is awesome and
Amen.
wonderful.
I'm just honored to be able to hear that, because it does push me more to doing more topics, which I have
Yeah.
done, but it pushes me to go even further. So I thank you so much for all of the encouragement, ladies, and to everyone else as well. You are my encourager as well. Thank you for tuning in. I really hope that you gained something from this live, which I'm sure that you did. I love you all with the love of God, and you all have a blessed night.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.
Oh.